Good morning. This is the Blaine's World podcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can also listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, a whole bunch of other places as well. If you can't find us anywhere else, you can also find us at this website, www.blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield. I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And it's my pleasure now to introduce you to Kim Battle and Debbie Burchfield with the nonprofit organization Hope Chest for Women. And Kim and Debbie, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. So if you're watching this, you can give a big wave. Say hello to everybody. Great. That's Kim and that's Debbie. Debbie didn't want to wave, but that's okay. There she goes. And I should mention to you that Kim is the executive director with Hope Chest for Women. She's worked with cancer patients with financial assistance for the past 19 years. She has a bachelor's degree in social work and a master's degree in healthcare administration. Debbie Burchfield has survived breast cancer twice, first in 2014 and again in 2020. She's a big believer in screenings, and that's how her career, and that's about her career, has gotten into this field with Hope Chest for Women. Through her own treatment, she discovered so many women were struggling to get appointments, pay bills, care for families, and manage the bare essentials of daily life. So true. Her awareness became her passion, and at Hope Chest for Women, she found a place to give back by raising awareness and funding for the organization. Fantastic. And let me start off then by asking, I guess I'll start with Kim, and I'll ask Debbie. And the first question I always ask Kim is, in terms of as a child, young woman, where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Weaverville, North Carolina.
Okay. And when you were a child growing up in Weaverville, North Carolina, did you know you wanted to head a nonprofit organization helping women?
No, I was kind of leaning more toward law, like a degree that way.
Okay. So that's quite a shift, from going
Yes.
to law to nonprofit. What got you into the whole nonprofit area?
Well, I was going through my bachelor's degree for social work. And then from my mom actually wound up having some medical issues. And she was unable to pay. She didn't have insurance or anything, and just helping her navigate through all of that. And then through my social work degree, I just kind of fell into working with patients, just helping them in the financial sector. And the first job I had out of my social work degree, I wound up working with cancer patients with drug replacement, trying to help them afford their chemotherapy drugs. And then from there, I just wound up just following along with cancer patients. And then a call with Debbie led me to working with Hope Chest. So I had always sent patients there, and then they were looking for a director, and that's where my passion kind of lies, was with a patient assistance. So I went for it.
And talk to me about Hope Chest for Women. How long has that organization been around?
Since 2003 is when we've been a nonprofit. It started before that in a local cancer center with the doctors and the workers there, the nurses, just raising money to help their patients. And then from there, they realized there was more ladies that needed assistance. So they decided to make it a nonprofit.
And you've been involved with it since when?
About 3 years ago, since 2019, May of 2019.
Okay. And so we'll then turn to Debbie, and thanks for, I guess, bringing Kim on board. Your background, as I mentioned, that you've been a breast cancer survivor twice, or you've been through it twice. How did you get involved with Hope Chest for Women?
Well, one of the board members sort of recruited me, and I joined the board, or was looking at joining the board. And I attended one meeting because at that time, people had to be screened by the board before they actually became part of the board. And I attended one of those screening meetings. And the next thing I knew, I was diagnosed Blaine with breast cancer. I had a mammogram like 2 or 3 weeks later, got a cancer diagnosis, and started my cancer journey.
So that was, unfortunately, even before you became involved with the organization, you were just thinking about it.
It was kind of simultaneous. It happened sort of at the same time.
So you got through breast cancer the first time, and you became you've been a board member since then?
I've been a board member since 2014 consistently.
and I guess I should know this, but I don't. So that's why I'm glad you folks are on board. If I can ask, Kim, so the organization, I've heard of the organization, but what exactly is Hope Chest for Women?
It's an organization that assists women with breast and gynecologic cancers. What we assist with is while they're going through treatment, we try to help relieve some of that financial burden. We'll assist them with anything from rent, mortgage, car payments, medical bills, utility bills, anything that they really need assistance with while they're going through their treatment.
Okay, so people find out about you through, I guess they'll find out about through the show, but aside from the show, how else do people find out about you?
Usually the nurse navigators, I work real closely with all of them in the cancer centers in the 22 counties here in Western North Carolina, or they hear about us word of mouth while they're sitting there waiting for their treatment, or while they're going through treatment, someone else might mention us to them. And then they usually wind up reaching out to me.
And if you would, Debbie, talk about then exactly what happened. So you identify women going through breast cancer. And I guess this is mostly for women who have some financial needs for the most part, would work with the organization.
Well, in our organization, yes.
Is there a financial forms they have to fill out, or how does that work out?
We go through a screen, we vet each recipient of our funds, and we do have a packet of information that they are required to submit. And one thing we like to know is, of course, their diagnosis, make sure they are a gynecological and or breast cancer patient, and what their pathology report says, which is just an addendum to that. And we also like to find out a little bit about them. Where do they live? What their financial situation is. However, their financial situation does not necessarily exempt them from getting financial assistance from us. I mean, so a person making $5,000 a year only could get assistance, and a person making $75,000 could also get assistance because of the cumbersome medical bills that were not budgeted in their whole financial picture.
And you raise a good point too. I think what's sad is not only the stuff that's not budgeted, but oftentimes after you get into the process, I guess more bills come, or you don't, all of a sudden, you have a certain amount. And also, Debbie, I don't know if you folks, you and Kim help out on this too, but somebody going through breast cancer has a lot of other bills other than hospital bills. Just in terms of, I'm going to this with a friend now, women can't work for a period of time.
Right.
Do you help out of that at all? Is that part of the package?
Yeah, I think Kim mentioned earlier that we do help with rent, we help with mortgages, we assist with car payments, we assist with car repairs. There's women who in the past has not been able to get to appointments because they don't have tires for their car, and they might be driving from Boone, North Carolina to get to an Asheville facility. And so there's all kinds of other bills that pile up, and we assist with those as well.
And you mentioned that because I'm helping a friend now whose wife had an aneurysm. And like you said, the stuff you don't know about is stuff that's scary, So Kim, going back to what happened, so they go through this application process, and then what happens? Does it get vetted? Do you get interviewed? What happens?
After I receive the application, I go ahead and call the patient. And then if they've submitted bills or anything to me, we go through those to figure out what's most important that they need help with. And then from there, I usually turn it over to the board, Debbie and another board member, and then they go through it and then they approve what I've submitted, or they ask for clarification on something. And then after all of that's done and they've approved it, then we go ahead and pay the bills. Usually every Monday morning, I pay the bills that have been approved.
Okay, which must be pretty exciting for the folks who contact you for the assistance, because, sometimes assistance is very tough to get. It's almost like, it seems like you're almost sort of like a one-stop shopping thing, that if they have all these bills coming in, rather than have to go to 27 different organizations, it'd be good to check with you at least first, or certainly early in the process?
Yeah, if they start with us, we assist with as much as we can. And then from there, I try to give them other organizations that might assist also. And then that way they can go to other places to get the rest, approved or assistance for.
How many board members do you have?
11, I believe. Is that right, Debbie?
I think it's 11 or 12, yes.
Okay.
So it sounds like, which is kind of cool, they're somewhat of an active board then, if they're doing all this stuff,
Mhm.
Also, talk a little bit about your funding, or how does, to run this organization, you have executive director, you have 11 volunteers, you have all sorts of other expenses. How do you raise the money for the organization?
We have our annual fundraiser, and we also have community partners that raise funds for us too through different fundraisers. Then we also do grants.
And talk a little bit about each one. So you mentioned community partners. Who are some of your community partners?
Asheville Chevrolet, they do an I Drive
nice.
for. Yeah. Anderson Nissan will assist us. There's also McClung Roofing. They do an annual fundraiser for us in October. There's trying to remember, Eaton, they assist, they do a thing. There's quite a number, and I'm trying to remember them all. Debbie, can you think of a couple?
Yeah, and some of them are small fundraisers. It can be anywhere from some are as small as just $200 or $300, all the way up to $15,000 to $20,000.
I guess anything.
5 to 10,000 is usually the median, I guess, of these donations. But when you accumulate 10 or 12 a year,
I
it
was gonna
adds
say.
up. Yes, it
And
becomes very cumulative.
And anybody who gets involved in it is very exciting. So you're getting, all these other folks involved. If
Yes.
somebody does want to get involved, and you're giving an idea out for some people conceivably, if they want to help women who have breast cancer or other kinds of cancer, they contact you. And what would be the procedure? Can they call you up and have a discussion with you?
Usually it's either with me or with another board member if they're wanting to do a fundraiser, just to make sure that, let us know when and stuff like that. And usually me and Debbie and a few the board members will go to the events on the day of or however they're doing it.
And Debbie had mentioned, I know you're having an upcoming major event. It's in October. What is that event?
It's
Go ahead, Kim.
No, you go ahead. You're better at this one.
No, I'm not. Here's Hope is our annual gala, and it's a luncheon. And the luncheon is involving breast cancer patients and other gynecological cancer patients. And it's basically a celebration of them and their families and their support systems. And the event is a ticketed event. And there's also sponsors for the event. And sponsorships can start at, what is it, Kim? $250, $500, all the way up to $10,000 or more if someone wants to donate more. And we have a big luncheon that's donated by Ingalls Markets. Those are one of our community partners. Don't let me forget about them. And we also have local retail stores that will outfit models for a fashion show that is held at the luncheon. And all of our models are cancer patients and or survivors.
Have you been a model in this event?
I have one time, yes,
Okay.
in 2015.
And so the event itself, again, I'll have you repeat the date, and where's it going to be?
It's going to be at the Morris Hellenic Cultural Community Center, which is on Cumberland Avenue. It is adjacent to the Holy Trinity Orthodox Church, and it is known by some people that has lived in this area for a while as the Greek Community Center.
Okay, yeah, no, I know you mean.
Yes.
So if people want to support your organization, one thing they could do is come to this event. Again, I ask you to repeat the date is when?
It will be October 21st on a Saturday of 2023, of course. And it's a luncheon. It's a lunchtime event.
And try and get a couple hundred people to that event?
Oh, or more. And we also have a raffle and silent auction, which makes it a little more interesting for people.
Okay, and I guess another way people can get involved if they're listening or watching, you'll be looking for prizes or stuff to give away at that event.
Absolutely.
And go back to Kim in terms of finding out about that event or organization. Best bet is to go to a website or Facebook. What's the best way to find out about you?
You can look on our website. It's hopechestforwomen.org. And there's also, they can call us. It's 828-708-3017. And of course, we do have a Facebook page, and you can link to it through our website.
Okay, and I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that number again, so I'll have you repeat it slowly. But if you want information about this upcoming event or other stuff you guys are doing, best bet, again, the website was what again?
Hopechestforwomen. I'm pretty sure it's .org.
I would imagine so.
It is.
Yeah, and the phone number was?
828-708-3017.
And back to the organization itself, talk about the fact that, I mean, you really are out there because you're not only doing these events to raise funds, you're working with all these community partners. Talk about how you tie in with the medical society, medical groups. How do you work with them?
Well, we partner with them to help their patients. I usually reach out to them. Before the pandemic, I would go to each of the cancer centers in the area and just make sure they have our cards and our RAC cards on hand and just touch base and say hello. I think now I'm going to be able to start doing that again since the COVID stuff is kind of released.
We hope, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully I can start going back by and just saying hey and introducing myself again. But mostly that's how we just keep in touch. If I get an application from one of them, I'll call and just kind of touch base with the person that referred them and just go from there.
How many cancer centers are in the area approximately?
You have the Messino Cancer Center, and I believe they're in Asheville, Spruce Pine, Brevard, Silva, and Franklin. And then you have the New Horizons, which is here in Asheville. And then there's the Hope Women's Cancer Center that's also in Asheville. Then the main Mission Cancer Center. And then Atrium Health has theirs. Used to be Park Ridge. They have a cancer center. Pardee has one. And then we sometimes get some from right down like around Charlotte and sometimes even Wake Forest, but the patients live here. And most of those, they need help with their medical bills or getting to those treatments.
I guess the real key is in terms of if somebody needs help, they have to open their mouth because I guess, unfortunately, or I'm guessing here that some women don't want to publicize it or don't want to share the information with other people. Is that a problem that comes up?
I think that does happen. And usually a lot of the patients, when they call, they're like, I hate having to ask for assistance. But I tell them, I said, that's why we're here, is to help you, get through this.
Ballpark, how many women do you help in a year or over a period of time?
Anywhere from 100 to 120 women.
Okay, pretty cool over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Would really be cool too. Do any of the women you've helped come back then as volunteers or come back to support the organization? Do you ever have that happen?
They do. We've had quite a number that have come back by and just helped with our Here's Hope event. Okay,
must be nice. Debbie, mentioning too, in terms of women are listening to this, I guess guys as well, there are certainly a couple of ways they can participate. One, they can be a volunteer for various events. And I think, Debbie, I guess as a board member, you've worked with some of the volunteers in the organization. Have somebody go about volunteering and finding out about it?
A lot of times they will come to one of our events and or they work with an organization that is one of our community sponsors, or like Kim said, they are a patient and they will come to us and say, what can we do to help? How can we participate? And usually we don't have to solicit too far, but that's how. And then our board is active in the past at helping us get volunteers for the events that we hold if we need extra help, like for Here's Hope, which we always do. And they will try to get people from their faith community Are there schools that they're associated with for their children? Things like that.
As Kim mentioned, I imagine it must be very exciting to see somebody come back, after they've been to an event or benefited by the association, and to, I guess, roll up their sleeves and help you. That must be kind of a very rewarding thing when you see that happen.
Absolutely. It's exciting because they know what it feels like. They know what they went through, and they know the impact that the organization has on the patients that we serve.
The people, Kim, who are involved in the association, do they all have some tie-in? You don't have to, I guess, but do they all have some tie-in to cancer, or people who've had cancer?
Some of them do, and then some of them, they've just been led to us through association with someone that's on the board already.
Because I guess you would know more than me. I guess the sad thing is that at some point in time, there are going to be a lot of women who have some relationship to cancer or being cancer patients. I don't know if I've ever seen it. What percentage of women get cancer or different kinds of cancer? Do you know a ballpark figure on that?
I don't. Do you,
I
Debbie?
think is it 1 in 8 or 1 in 10 women or something like that is going to get a breast cancer diagnosis.
Or I
And
guess you're going to know somebody who has it, right?
yeah, and unfortunately, what happens, Blaine, is when you sort of get into the network of meeting people that has had breast cancer, like as a patient and as a member of the Hope Chest for Women organization, it really widens your network, and you're all of a sudden thrown in the ocean, it seems like, with all these other women who are experiencing similar journeys.
Well, it's a shame as you talk about it, I think about my mom who had breast cancer, I think maybe a couple of times, but it wasn't talked about then, or she had
Yeah.
no network of people. Like, is that something else you folks do as well, that people who benefit, do they get to meet the other women, or did they get to associate women? Does that take place?
I think one of the big things, and Kim can address this too, is that when we have our Here's Hope Gala every year, that so many women there are breast cancer and or other gynecological cancer survivors, and they meet each other at that event. Like, for instance, the models in the fashion show usually don't know each other at all, but by the time the event has ended, they're all friendly with each other, and they've exchanged phone numbers and they're Facebook friends, and they stay in touch. I got a message yesterday from one of the models that was in it this past October, and she had just had a tumor removed and had a double mastectomy, and she's cancer free, and she was so excited. So she was very eager to share that news with me.
The event, and now we're trying to place the event, it's been held in other facilities, is that correct?
It used to be held at the Asheville Event Center, and it's been sold. It was sold last summer, so we haven't been able to have it there.
So get it, and then you had COVID too. You didn't have it for a couple of years.
Yes, COVID really threw us in the
But
dust.
now I'm getting chill as you talk about this, because a good friend of mine was a model several years ago, and it was one of the fun events I went to. I just loved it, and Brian Turner was there, and John Boyle was there, and
Yes.
it's just such a fantastic event. And it really, I mean, it was very inspirational. Can't believe I was moved by it as much as I was. And my friend, who was a model in it, first time she had been a model, but she loved it. Talk about, so you were a model once. What was your reaction to being a model?
I think it makes the women feel good because they've gone through a very serious medical diagnosis. And many of the women don't know what their prognosis is going to be, so to speak. And it's a way for them to kind of get dressed up and feel good about themselves. And it's really a boost, I think, to the women's self-esteem that gets to participate. Some of them are shy at first, but usually those don't ever want to be in it in the beginning anyway. So yeah, I think it really is a boost. And you mentioned people that you recognized, whose names I recognized, and I think that might have been the year I was there.
Oh, was it really? It was a beautiful event, completely.
Yeah, I remember John
Jam.
Boyer being
Right.
there, and I remember Brian Turner. So
Oh,
it was
I loved
probably
it.
the same year.
But also, Kim, give a shout out now to another organization. So the women dress up and look beautiful that day. Where do you get the clothes or their outfits from?
Just local retailers. I think this time Debbie was over the models this time, and she got them from, I believe it was Belk's.
Right.
Mhm.
And then who were the other?
Belk's, and I got some from the Ann Taylor at the
Very nice.
Asheville Outlet, and Dillard's at the Asheville Mall. And I'm trying to remember who else. I think those were the main people. I think Belk's is going to be really eager to, they would like to be our sponsor again this coming up year. So we might work very closely with Belk and Dillard's again.
And a shout out to all them, because you know,
Absolutely,
it was so
yes.
cool, and to the women participating. Now you got me excited about it, because again, it was I never thought I'd want to see a fashion show. You know, I think maybe I'd seen one other in my life, but this was so Kim, so inspirational. You weren't the one we're talking about, but just probably everyone is like that. That it's like, and then you also have, who speaks, the women themselves, don't they speak a little bit, or they have
Some of them, yeah, they give testimonies, and we'll have their biographies and something about their cancer journey spoken about during the fashion show.
Yeah.
So while they are modeling, their story will be summarized.
And what's also, Kim, I remember loving about it too, is all their family and friends come to it too, because again, the women, you know, I won't mention it because I didn't ask about this, but the women I went to, we had, I think, 2 tables sold, you know, so it's very, very exciting that they help promote it, because it's just a great event. Moving forward after this, so working on different kinds of projects, it seems then all the time, so all the individual fundraisers are, you know, going on too, and you're trying to support them as well. What do you see, Kim, the vision? So you've been now here 3 years. Where do you see this going?
I'd like us to be able to grow it even more, to assist with more. That's Debbie and I have talked about that since I first came on, as we would like to see it grow even more.
Okay, in terms of what women you serve?
Women we serve, and financially, maybe be able to assist them with a little bit more than we're able to now. Just, you know, hit a few extra bills, if you will,
Okay.
just to help with more.
I guess if I can ask you, Kim, maybe just to kind of conclude here a little bit, can you think of, like, off the top of your head, like one story, you know, that you like to share, or really a success story that I guess a woman was helped, and then it really helped them get on, I guess, with their life? Have you ever seen that happen, or it changed their lives around?
Yeah, there's been so many that we've just helped. And we have this one young mother. She is a GYN patient, a gynecologic patient, and we've really assisted her with quite a bit over the last 2 years, and we're getting ready to assist her once more. But we've helped her be able to stay in her home. We've helped her be able to afford food for her children, and so it's patients like that that keep us going.
Have you helped any women go on with school?
Not with school. I don't think
Okay.
we've helped
Or
anybody.
maybe, though, excepting if they're getting their other bills paid for, they would free up to go for school or something.
It might. They've never mentioned it, but it might. But for the most part, we've just helped them get to their appointments and keep food on the table, because sometimes they have, especially with the gas being so high this last year, some of them were skipping their appointments because they were having to choose to eat or get gas to come all the way up here to their appointments. So we spent a lot out in gas cards last year.
Or can you imagine this year? I guess we're going to get egg cards for everybody, you know,
I
so you
know.
can buy. Who would have thought? Right, exactly. But you know, but we laugh about it. But you know, and that we laugh about it, I think is good. We don't realize what people have to go through, you know, and that, you know, that you would think, you know, now and insurance, all that stuff like that, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. And then unfortunately, I guess you have some women, I guess, don't have any insurance whatsoever?
No, they have no insurance. And so we work with them to find ways to pay, because sometimes the hospitals can work with them with financial assistance. There's a few other national organizations that can assist with a little bit also. So we all try to kind of just navigate them through the process.
And again, which is so cool what you do, because I mentioned the analogy of the one-stop shopping center, that a lot of time a woman has just her health to deal with, that's enough. And then on top of that, her family.
Mhm.
And all this other stuff comes out, I guess, simultaneously all at one time. That's a lot for anybody to have to go through,
Mhm.
So it's really cool what you do. So again, we'll have you repeat the date. So if they want to come, what's the name of the event?
Here's
Here's
Hope, October 21st.
Okay, just a great event. I encourage people to get to it.
Absolutely. And
on
I
top-
need to mention, Blaine, that besides our grants and our community sponsors and our events, we also have a lot of individual donors. And without those individual donors, we would also have a difficult time because we would have to make up that money in other places. So we do have individual donors, and they can go directly to our website and donate that way, or they can send checks. We have a lot of people who have lost a family member or a good friend through breast cancer or other kinds of cancers, and they will make memorials or just do it to honor a patient. So we do have individual donors as well.
And you read my mind, because I was going to ask you. So if somebody wants to get involved, not only in terms of corporate level, but individually, Kim, I guess the best bet, and there's information on how to donate there at the website.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's a donate button.
Okay. And so donations are always welcome as well.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway, like I said, once you started talking about that show, and just one of the great events, and it's a big event, a lot of people come to it, and just want to be inspired, come to this event. You're going to enjoy it. Tickets are available starting when when will they be available?
It's usually later on, usually July, August is when we really ramp up the sales.
Okay, and let me know that too, because I'll publicize it on the show or my blog or website. But just
Great.
a fun event to get to, and I'll have to see, I guess, when do you announce who the models are? Around that time as well?
We don't always announce it until just before the event or at the event, because a lot of times they don't know where they are going to be in their treatment and if they're going to be able to do it. So we don't really know who the models are going to be until about a month ahead of time.
And how many models do you typically have?
We have anywhere from about 8 to 12.
Okay. Anyway, I want to thank you both for, once I got the connection, then I realized that I want you to thank you both for being involved with this Hope Just Women, just a fantastic organization. Feel free to keep in touch, because I like to, tell other people about it, but just, I want to thank you for all that you do for the community, because it's a really outstanding organization. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, and my hat's off to Kim, because she does an amazing job keeping us afloat on the daily operation.
Okay, it seems like you keep a little busy, Kim. You have enough to keep you busy?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and that's the other thing, back to the whole organization, that people don't realize. I guess some you folks do, but what women have to go through on top of everything else, and it's touching, and Debbie has gone through it. On top of everything else, to have health concerns is quite something. So that you make it easier for, I guess that's the key, you make it easier for some people to deal with this, that it just really helps them out. So thank you for that. Just fantastic. Okay, thanks guys. I think we're gonna be cut off, so I'll just be in touch with you via email or send you the link tomorrow. Okay,
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
thanks again, guys. Be
Thank
well.
you.
Good luck with this event. It'll be fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.